to episode 2 of Brooks on the Money. I've got a great episode today with Gianna Martinez, coming to you from Dallas, Texas, in the Lakewood area, local
Hello.
real estate expert. Welcome, Gianna.
Thank you. So happy to be here, Brooks.
Yeah, I'm so glad you could join us, and we're going to talk all kinds of real estate stuff today and life in general, and
Okay.
just introduce yourself to the audience, where you came from, because you're not a Dallas native, right?
Right. Yes, I'm from Seattle, actually. And I went to SMU many years ago. And so I just love Dallas so much that, I stayed here. And as you know, I met your friend, Alexis, my husband. We met while in Dallas. And so now we have 2 kids and we love the East Dallas community. Lakewood is kind of, where I mostly do business. And so, yeah, that's our story.
Awesome. So how'd you get to SMU from Washington?
Kind of a weird situation. My aunt and uncle had moved to Dallas for an opportunity that he had, a residency opportunity. And, they moved to Highland Park and they go, hey, this school down the street, SMU, you really should check it out. It's beautiful. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll add it to my list. And, if you've ever been to that school, once you step foot on campus, I mean, you're sold on it. So
pretty
of course,
awesome place.
My dad was like, how much is it? But it was
hey, nothing but the best for his baby girl, right?
Yeah. It was a fun school though. And fortunately, I've had so many friends that are now in the community, that I went to school with, and it's been fun even helping them buy real estate. And so that piece has been fun. I Proud Pony. We try to go to as many of those tailgate Boulevard games as we can.
Do you actually go to the game or just the tailgate party?
Pretty true to form to how I was in college, mostly just the tailgate. But now that they're in that new conference, the games are supposed to be a lot more exciting.
Big time, yeah. ACC, Florida State coming this year, I think.
Yep,
right?
that's going to be a big one.
That's huge.
So we'll probably try to go to that one.
It's about time Dallas got some big time college football that's not imported from Jerry World, like a Texas Tech versus Baylor kind of thing. We get downtown Dallas football. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Right
so
on.
yeah,
We'll have to join you on the Boulevard sometime this fall.
I know. We should do that. We should bring the kids out too.
Definitely. Yeah, you mentioned kids. 2 daughters. How old are they?
So Ella is 3 and Camila is 2. So yeah, they're very close in age, 15 months apart.
Mm-hmm. Ready for school to start?
Oh, I am so excited. On Monday they start, and it's going to be a full schedule. And I'm just excited to kind of focus on my business. They're going to be excited, meeting a lot of new friends.
Yeah.
The summer has just been so hectic with camps and, here and there, and the kids not really having consistency.
Yep.
So I think we're all ready to get back to routine.
Bedtimes are off and
everything.
Yeah.
They've been staying out till like 2:30. They've been staying up till 10:30.
Oh, I was like 2:30, man.
No. No,
teaching them young.
It's weird. It doesn't get dark until what, 10, 9:30, 10?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited. Are you excited for school to start?
Yeah, I mean, summer just went ridiculously fast. I think it's like you just, as the kids get older, I have 9 and 14-year-olds, and so 2 months it feels like, and it's done. We didn't really go on summer vacation this year. My younger one went on vacation with my mom. They went on an Alaskan cruise and got to experience that together. Right. That was a lot of fun for them. But our summer's over and no vacations, and it's just back to the grind again. So we're excited to get back into routine. Royal's going to high school, so that's nerve-wracking and exciting all together. But
is he going to do football?
No, he's not playing football. He told me he wants to concentrate on his golf game now. So,
oh, good.
Which is non-existent. So, but me being a big golfer, that's kind of exciting to get my son into something that I always like. So we go out after work. We went out last night, and when it gets a little cooler, it's not 105 anymore, and we go out and swing him. And he's starting to pay attention. 14-year-olds know more than you do, right? So longer,
3-year-olds
hey son,
know
I
more
played
than
college
we do.
golf, like I know what I'm doing here. I can teach you. Oh, really? Okay. Finally, he let me teach him some things last night. So
well, you got a college scholarship.
I did,
right?
yeah.
So you're, I mean, you definitely know what you're doing.
Yeah, I used to, at least. It's coming back to me. I quit golf for like 10 years. I burned out and just completely quit. And
Really?
yeah, you do something your whole life. I grew up at the golf course. My dad was a golf pro. My mom worked there. So like from the age 1, that's where I lived. I went there every day, and it was great. It was a great lifestyle. Played golf in college. We went all over the world and played golf. But, at some point you just have enough of it. And my regret is I wish I wouldn't have quit for that long. I needed some time to recoup, but I wish I would have got back to it sooner, because it's been really difficult to get back into form since then. So
Really?
yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're back to, your old
We'll see.
swing everything now.
Yeah.
But
some holes yes, some holes no. So
if lending doesn't work out, you could go back to golfing full time. Maybe you could start competing again.
Yeah, I'm not too far from the senior tour now. We got a few years. Maybe we can. That's my retirement plan is senior tour golf. Me and Tiger together.
Why not? Try to make some money too.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to earn a living. That's for sure. So speaking of earning a living, so how's the real estate market?
Well, okay. As of when exactly? Gosh, this summer has been a little all over the place. I don't know about you, but I had so many, clients around April, May say, "Hey, I want to list my house."
That's
and
good.
I just had a gut feeling that we needed to, get it on as soon as possible before the summer.
Yeah.
And a lot of them just, weren't quite ready until June. And it was one of those things where we all noticed a big shift, come June. For some reason, May was super busy, beginning of May. And then a lot of things just sat. A lot of people left town. Buyers, I think, started getting a lot more selective and really wanting to take their time touring multiple homes. Just even if they toured a home and they absolutely loved it, there was just a sense of urgency that sort of escaped, this summer.
Yeah.
That obviously buyers had to have the last couple of years.
Yeah.
If they sort of like something, even 90%, as they were writing an offer right after the showing, the last few years, how crazy things have been.
For sure.
But that sense of urgency has really shifted this summer, and, listings have just been taking longer to sell. I think that the prices are still holding somewhat steady, especially when things are priced well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're not seeing multiple offers, over asking anymore.
Interesting. Yeah, I think obviously with interest rates being where they were, they peaked in April and didn't really even start going down till, probably later May and June. But then information's always lagging, and so any market shift like that, we haven't seen a market shift in years, really. It's been a buyer's market or a seller's market for, how long have you been in the business? 5-6 years now?
6 years.
6 years. And it's really been a seller's market pretty much since then, right?
Right. And I think it would still classify as a seller's market right now, and prices are still high, from what you and I see.
Yeah.
But there's just a little bit more decision back in the buyer's court now. I think they're finally able to take a beat, really think about what they want to do, just feel like they're not rushed anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard stories, and I never recommended this to any of my clients over the past couple of years, but buyers waiving inspections on houses.
That was crazy.
It was crazy. And so I don't think that's happening at all, which it shouldn't right now.
Shouldn't happen at
that
all,
should
really.
never
I mean,
happen.
unless you're buying an as-is property, like
you're tearing it
fixer-upper or
down
something.
and exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it feels normal right now.
That's good. I think we need some normal, it's been so hyper competitive, and the values went up so much in the last 3 or 4 years, and the fact that they've stabilized yet, on the year, they say they're up 4% this year. So, and I think we see that across the board. Like you say, the values are staying this, similar. There is an opportunity for some closing costs to be paid, or a longer closing to be had, or, not so frantic kind of situation, which gives people choice and negotiation. And that's how sales should work, no matter what the industry is. But on such a big ticket item like real estate, there should be some some sort of decision being had, you know?
Yes, exactly. And I think it's one of those things where, a year or two ago, everyone was saying prices are just going to go up and up and up. So,
Yeah.
you're good. Doesn't matter if you need to sell next year. But I think right now there's also a mindset of, the market could very well go down. And so I need to be certain that this house will, be okay for me for the next few years. If I'm going to buy this house, I don't want to, outgrow it in a year because we don't know what the market is going to do. And as if you buy and sell a house within a year and
Yeah.
don't do any updates, you're probably losing money.
Well, yeah, that's not something for anybody to ever do, like the considerations that were made during COVID were, just very unreasonable, in expectation wise. Like if you're going to buy a house and you're only going to live there for a year, don't buy the house,
Yes.
unless you're going to rent it out when you leave, like that's a consideration. If you're only going to be here for a year, buy something that you can rent, but don't expect to sell it in a year. I mean, just in closing fees, it in itself, if you sold it for the same price, would eat the equity. So.
Yes. But I mean, in 2020, 2021, and 22, people could do that and they could sell the next year, even with closing costs and everything, they were still making money. That's how fast things were growing.
Yeah.
So no, that's not, going to happen like we said, but
for sure. Yeah.
If you find something, you can be in it for a while. I don't think people have to worry, what's going to happen. I think that the Dallas market specifically, it's so strong. There's still people moving here. We have so many jobs available.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that we still have a building problem. We still need a lot more inventory. And Frisco, as you know, is, developing so much.
Well, it's so expensive up there now.
It is.
I mean, I was talking to someone buying in Fields Ranch up there, the PGA Tour place. And I want to say the lot was $1 million in itself. So
when did Frisco have $1 million lots?
I think it's a new thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotten very unaffordable. I used to sell new homes there before I was in mortgage, and you could get a 4,000 square foot home in Frisco for $300,000, just 20 years ago. But
you should have bought 10 of them.
I wish I would have known better, I wish I had the money to do that. Back then, you didn't really need it. We were selling to investors, 100% financing, with 580 credit scores. We didn't know the difference. And
yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of those are foreclosed on today. But.
I know I always talk to you about this and you always kind of like tell me that everything's okay, with the market, because you've been through a rough patch having been in this business in 2007, 8, and 9. Sure. And, you've seen the ebbs and flows of the market. And I guess what kind of gives you assurances, even people, the doomsday people on YouTube, and I've seen them that are saying that, everything's about to be terrible and we're heading into the worst crash ever. Like, what gives you, I guess, peace of mind that you think everything's going to be fine? You're still going to be in this business for a while. I mean,
forever. That's the only choice. There's no plan B. So I'll be here forever. But as far as the market crashing, if you look at all the statistics in real estate, home appreciation homes have appreciated 77 out of the last 85 years. There was the biggest blip of all was 2007 to 2010. I think it was 3 years of depreciation. But other than that, I don't think there's ever been a time where there's been more than 1 year where homes depreciated. So you have to look at housing from two different pieces. It is an investment. It is something that you make money on, but it's also your home. It's where your family is. It's your community. And people will continue to keep that up no matter what, because there's a sense of pride in ownership and where you live. And they're not just going to let that go. I think where the possible slip up in our economy is going to come is from commercial real estate. I mean, this building here, it's beautiful, right? You came in and there's, redoing the lobbies and all that stuff, but it's a giant office complex and it's probably 30 or 40% occupied on a daily basis. It's rented way more than that, but these companies are downsizing. I mean, our office is 4,000 square feet. There's 20 offices in here and there's 6 people here on a daily basis. And there's 30 or 40 people that actually report to this office, in some way, shape or form. So the world's changed when it comes to real estate, especially commercial real estate. And I think if the Fed doesn't lower the rates in the coming 12 months enough for all these commercial companies to refinance, I think that's going to come to a problem in our future here, but it's going to be more on the commercial side, not on the residential side. Most of the commercial loans are done on 5-year arms. And so if these folks refinanced or purchased these buildings in 21 at rates in the 2s and 3s, and now they're having to refinance them in the 7s and 8s, then they're going to have problems with cash flow, and it's just going to become a bigger problem from that standpoint. So I think you see it with Alexis being in commercial real estate, that that some of these office complexes are being turned into condominiums and repurposed in different ways. Or the development of them is not what it was over the last couple of years either. So
he's wanted to buy a building for a long time. And I was surprised that, the last couple of years, even with the big work from home migration, there haven't been that many buildings for sale. Yeah. I kind of thought that a lot of them would, sort of see, okay, writing's on the wall, the next 10 years. But no, the prices have still been sky high on anything that's been trading the last couple of years. And that's
crazy.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's value in it. What you use it for, or how they purpose it is different. This building went into foreclosure, I want to say, or they just gave it back to the bank, and someone else bought it, from the bank note, and now they're putting millions of dollars into it to make it nicer and more palatable for renters to come in. I don't think was anything wrong with it, but to entice other folks to come back. And what we're hearing from everyone, I mean, I was at a meeting at a builder earlier, and they're enticing people to come back to the office because the productivity levels of employees at home, while you think you're more productive, it's not actually true. And many companies are seeing that, and I think it'll bring more people back, but it's going to take some time before we get there.
Well, let me just tell all of these business owners, if you want to get people to come in your office, you get a daycare center on the lobby. Get a daycare center, make it free. I mean, I tell you, all of the workers will be bringing their kids in, and they'll be having a very productive day. And then just have a bar upstairs. Parents grab a glass of wine, pick your
put
kid
in a golf course in the back.
I
Top
mean,
golf too.
It's all about enticing people. By the way, I did get a golf simulator. Really? Quote for a listing. I'm going to have a $3.5 million listing coming in a few weeks. And my builder client specifically made a room for a golf simulator. And so we said, okay, well, let's see what this is going to cost so that I can tell buyers. Do you want to know what the bid was?
30 grand?
This is $50,000.
50?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty sweet simulator, I bet.
I know.
Yeah. You guys going to put one of those in your new house?
I don't know how people afford to put these in. $50,000 for one.
I mean, country club memberships are that much. And at least it's air conditioned. You don't have to go anywhere. So
yeah, that's true.
If you're buying a $3.5 million house, 50 grand is pocket change, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, must be nice.
Yeah, it must be. But
yeah. So you're super busy. Like you have 2 kids, or 3, including Alexis. You're a busy, top producing real estate agent, and you also flip houses too. Is
yes,
that right?
We flip houses. I know we weren't busy enough.
Yeah, let's throw that on there.
Yeah, it all kind of started. I have this one contractor that we've done our personal homes, and I recommend to clients. He's amazing, and one day a friend was talking to me, hearing about this guy saying, I've just had bad experiences with contractors. He was saying I would flip houses if I had a contractor like that I could rely on, that did great work, and that had affordable prices. Yeah. And I was like, that's true. And I've made my clients so much money from, him going in there, renovating kitchens and bathrooms, and them selling, a couple years later. They've made a lot of money. And I said, why don't I just do this? I kind of understand buyers and what they want in a house and what updates are important to do. And so that kind of led me to, flipping. Yeah. And it's been really fun. I mean, I look for houses that have a good footprint or a good size. And maybe, we knock down a few walls. I've made pantries out of bedrooms, and, shifted a lot of walls around. It's funny, the design, the layouts that they came up with in the 50s and 60s, it's
very compartmentalized.
Yes. Yeah. Very different than how we live today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has been, it's been a therapeutic experience, I think, to kind of go in and pick out, paint selections and tile and, sort of get to have that creative aspect.
So
And
it's
then,
probably fun being your own client too, and selling your own houses and not having to
yeah.
have clients and
That,
you be the owner. Is that interesting? Is that different, or like you
I
get
don't
more
know,
stressed out over
fun
it? Or
is the word. I mean, I
yeah,
think, the stress level is high because I know that buyers can sometimes pick apart homes. I mean, I'm the first person hears it all day long.
yeah,
So I remember, the first house that we flipped and put it on the market, I was just so nervous for what everyone was going to say, if they were going to like it.
yeah,
Because I kind of saw it as like a reflection of myself. And if they hate this paint color, I'm going to feel bad. But
yeah.
I think I'm sort of like letting that go slowly. But no, it's been quite a process. And then the staging, I do all that myself.
For all your listings, or just for the flips?
For some of my listings, and then definitely the flips.
Oh wow.
But try to get advice from as many friends and family as possible, because I don't know everything. And
Yeah.
The last house I did, I was sort of thinking we would have two dining rooms and then a living room. And a friend came by and she was like, "Oh no, like I would have a huge living room and just have a small dining room," and something like that. And then I just changed everything up sort of last minute. And, I think it's kind of good to know what the market's going to say, like how people will,
Yeah.
because you get tunnel vision when you look at your own project,
Oh, true.
for too long. So,
Yeah. You have one going right now too, or?
Yeah, we have one going right now. It's over near Hockaday.
Okay.
And
What stage is that in? Is it close to being done, or?
we just framed everything out. So probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months away.
Gotcha.
I'm kind of not rushing them too much because I want to put it on spring market.
Oh, okay.
I think if we put it on January, it won't do quite as well.
Yeah.
So currently debating if we want to put a pool in or not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Right on. Well, that's so
yeah.
you only do one at a time. It's not like you're piling up the projects, or just that hasn't presented itself, or you just plan on doing one at a time?
Well, for financing reasons, I don't know. I just don't want to overextend myself. And maybe this is kind of a question for you, of how comfortable like things can be. But I don't want to ever get a hard money loan to do a deal like that. Would you ever, do that? Or what are your...
Well, yeah, I think hard money is a great solution. It's expensive,
Very,
depending. Yeah. So I would say they're if it's a long-term project like this one sounds like, it's, a 9 to 12 month kind of deal, can get very expensive. If you have one that you can turn faster, and then I think if you can do it in 3 or 4 months and get in, get out, and you're only paying interest on it for a few months, I think it's a good solution. They finance the repairs into it. And you have some money down, but not as much as you typically would think. And the better you get at it, the more experienced you are, the less funds you have to put in from an investor standpoint. So,
okay, true. So I think my style is a little bit more, I want to have a house that I would personally live in, and it might take a little bit longer, but I want it done like, really well and sort of like touch every part of the house.
Yeah.
Those like 3 to 4 month flips, I mean, I see them all the time. It's kind of like, hey, let's just do a quick thing, like fix it up.
For sure.
So maybe that's sort of like a different...
I mean, you can do them over a longer term, but the interest it's 1% of the loan amount every month, basically. So if you're $800,000 into a property, I mean, you do higher end properties with this, and so times 12 months, that's $100,000 worth of interest. So
it's a lot.
It's a lot. It eats into your profit margins pretty significantly. So if you can stay away from that, then it makes sense. But
yeah. So I think that's kind of the the main reason that we haven't done multiple.
Sure.
Just kind of wanting to stay a little bit conservative, and you know, but
well, it's not like you need to add more things to your plate.
A little busy.
I think you got enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I did want to talk to you about a Dave Ramsey. Now I don't know if you.
Who?
Dave Ramsey.
Oh, Dave. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, do you ever listen to him? Or
I do. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was telling my husband Alexis, sort of his philosophy on talking to people and telling them that they need to buy down, to make all the payments and pay off their mortgage as soon as possible.
Yeah.
He does not like debt at all. And Alexis sort of has this philosophy that, debt can really work for you, especially if people have lower mortgage rates, as we've seen the last few years,
Yeah.
And using their money to, go out and work for them in better ways.
Yeah.
But I wanted to hear your thought on that because, Dave Ramsey, he says you should not buy an investment property unless you can buy it with cash. Which is just crazy from
it's crazy.
From what other people are.
His theories are crazy. Like, are they sound? Is it sound advice to not get you in trouble? Yes. Is it going to put you ahead in life? No, it's not. Do you not need any consumer debt? Yeah, you don't want to be paying on your credit cards. It's okay to have a car payment as long as it's reasonable. You don't need a Range Rover or a G-Wagon or whatever, but you need a car,
mm-hmm.
right? And depending on your business, like some businesses require having a nicer car for, that business purpose. But when it comes to investment properties or your own house, I mean, your house is a tax deduction. All the interest you pay on it, all the taxes, property taxes you pay on it, it's all a tax deduction. And while that's, a benefit, leveraging an asset is the best thing that you can do, mm-hmm. especially real estate, because that real estate is going to appreciate year over year over year. Some years it's going to go down, some years it's going to go up. Like I said, 77 out of 85, it's gone up. On average, Dallas-Fort Worth appreciates at 3.6% over the course of the last 100 years. So your house is going to be worth more. And by you putting money down on that house is not going to make that house appreciate faster.
Right.
If you put extra money towards it, you're going to pay less interest, but it's not going to make that asset appreciate more. So if you could take that money and buy another house with it, with say 20% down, and you're going to buy an investment property, now you have your money working for you in two different ways. So now you have another asset that's growing at 3% per year or 5 or whatever it is. But it's leveraged assets is how people grow in their wealth. If you look at anyone, especially the most wealthy people in the world, they all leverage assets. They mm-hmm. use leveraged assets on everything. They don't pay cash for anything.
Right.
So no, I mean, it's I want to say a poor person's mentality, but it is in some way. Like you have to understand how money works for you and use it in those ways, or else you're just going to continue in that rat race forever.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, maybe someone that has had struggled with, debt before, maybe that's a better way for them to, to live. But
yeah.
When someone said, I have $400,000, and my house, it's a 4% interest rate. What should I do with this money? And he said, pay off your house, get rid of your, yes.
Oh no.
And
bad advice, Alexis. Terrible.
No, not Alexis.
Oh,
no,
Dave said that.
Dave
yeah.
said that.
Alexis probably said it too.
Now, what would you have said to her?
I would have said, you can take $400,000 and you can buy 4 investment properties with it, put $100,000 down on each one. And now you have 4 assets that are growing at that number. So
you don't think that's too risky than have nothing in the bank?
Or 3 and keep $100,000. Like
mm-hmm.
have a safety net. There's no reason. If you put $400,000 to your house, you have nothing now. You have a house that's free and clear.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no mortgage payment. But what does that do for you besides that? $2,000 a month or whatever her mortgage payment was. Like what's next? Okay, now I have $2,000 a month. Well, now I want to go buy an investment property. Takes 20% down to do that. How long is it going to take you to get to that $100,000? 50 months. So now 4 or 5 years from now, you have $100,000 to go buy an investment property that went up by $50,000 over the last 5 years while you were saving that money.
Mm-hmm.
But had she gone out and bought, say, 3 properties with it, say 3 $400,000 properties, $1.2 million in real estate times 3%, those houses are worth 1.4, 1.5 million in 5 years. Had she just sat there on the sidelines saving her money to now put money down on the next house.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense when you say it like that. And I feel like, it really is. how are we supposed to learn this? I mean, obviously listening to the Brooks Kelly podcast,
Sure. Yeah. Follow me on
but
Instagram, like I talk about this all the
yeah,
time.
but
Yeah.
how is the average person supposed to just, become this savvy with their money? I mean, it's just,
It's not things that are taught to us in school,
no.
really. I mean, I don't remember any classes that taught us that. We had a life skills class that we had to do. I think because we were in athletics, and I don't know why we had to do it. Nobody else did. That taught us. They were teaching us how to like write checks and stuff like that in college. I'm like, we're well beyond this, like teach us investments, 401ks, like,
Mm-hmm.
how to buy property, what it takes to get a mortgage, how your credit score works. And so that's what we try to educate with now. So, I mean, you can get a lot of education on social media these days. I mean, you can look up anything on YouTube or Instagram. You got to be careful, who the source is, but if they're a trusted source, like there's a lot of great information out there that we should have gotten as part of our foundation, especially paying, copious amounts of money for college. Like college should have taught us these kind of life skills that is not part of the curriculum whatsoever.
Totally. And I think people think that, getting financing for a house is this big, scary process. But, as you know, I send so many people your way to just have a conversation with you. And you're so nice and, friendly, and just ask them questions. And you can kind of qualify them basically over a 10-minute call, without them having to dig up a bunch of records, just to sort of have an idea of, is this feasible? Should you buy a house right now? What can you kind of afford? And I don't think people realize like how easy it is.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's probably the biggest apprehension of when people are going to buy a house is either being turned down or just being ignorant in the process. And there's lots of ways to educate yourself, but the best way is like to really talk to somebody that knows better and has helped hundreds or thousands of families out with this process. And even in a 20-30 minute conversation, you can watch. We do most of ours either in person or on Zoom. And like you can just see the stress level like leave like as we're talking to them, because it's not as overwhelming as they think it is, or they've built it up in their mind to be. I mean, there's so many programs out there that are built to help achieve home ownership, down payment assistance funds, or like income based plans. There's all kinds of different loans that are available, low down payment, whatever it is that people just don't know about until you really talk about it and put your situation out there. Well, I haven't had a job. I haven't been on this job for 2 years. Well, you don't have to be on that job for 2 years. You have to have 2 years work history, but you don't have to be on your job for 2 years. Like that's one of the biggest things that people say. And I'm like, it's just old school rules that flow over what their parents told them, that you got to put 20% down to buy a house.
Yeah.
If I would have had to wait to put 20% to buy a house, it would have taken me 7-8 years to save that kind of money to do that. I bought my first house 2005 before, don't date me on this. I know I'm a lot older than you, but in 2005, 100% financing back then. Great interest rate. This was before the crash, obviously, but it was a well-qualified loan. And I made equity when I sold that home. And then I bought another house with that equity, but I still didn't put 20% down. I've never bought real estate with 20% down until I bought an investment property a few years ago.
And why did you do that?
It was required. I've only put what's required. I bought a second home when it was 10% down to do that. My primary residence, zero down the second time. It was probably one of the last zero down loans in 2008 when I bought the house I live in now. But every house I've ever bought, I've always put the minimum down, because in my opinion, there's no reason to put more money down than that. Unless it's a monthly payment thing either for qualification or just for your peace of mind on what your payment is and how it fits into your budget, you always come up to the level of where you are. If you qualify for it, it's doable. It might seem like it's a stretch, but ultimately, like, you're going to make that payment. Like the first mortgage I had was like $1,100 a month, on that first house. And it just seemed like so much, but then you start making it and it wasn't a big deal, after a year or 6 months. And then I bought the next one. The payment was higher and it seemed like it was so much, and then, it just keeps going. You just continue to level up until you get to that point,
Yeah. And of course, you have to prepare for maybe interest rates won't go down, a ton. And so anyone that's saying, oh, I can afford it if the interest rate went down a little bit more and I'll just expect to refinance.
Sure.
Obviously, you would never advise, to bet 100% on that. I mean, you have to be prepared for what the worst case scenario is. But
100%, yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody that's bought in the last 2 years has every single person has that thought in their mind is, when can I refinance this loan? And
yes.
I mean, last week rates went down. My phone was ringing. You
were refinancing last week?
No, I mean it's not ready yet. The
right.
rates went down, but the sensationalism behind that made you think that rates went down to 2% again. Or they were going to be there next week, and that's not going to happen. Our rate's going to go down into the 5s in 6% range. That's where I think they will go eventually, but we're not going to see 2s and 3s. But
right.
all those people at 7 or 7.5 are, and in the 5s and 6s, are going to want to refinance. Don't jump the gun with that. You're going to get solicited like crazy. Every servicer, every lender out there is going to be like, it's time to refinance. It's an expensive process. Don't jump the gun. The rates are going to cycle through. Now,
see, that's why I love you. You give sound advice like that. You're not just trying to, get a quick deal. You'll tell people, no, it's not time, but call me, in 2 months or.
Yeah, we have rate triggers. We'll put them in a system and we'll say, when the rate gets to this target, it'll alert me and I'll pick up the phone. I'll call them. We'll talk about the refinance then. So it's not something you want to do every year. Like if it went down enough to save, and say you went from 7.5 to 6.5, yeah, you're going to save $300 a month and skip a mortgage payment and everything's going to be great. But then they go to 5.5 and they're like, well, I can save another $300 a month. Well, you wrap $10,000 worth of closing costs into your last mortgage. So now you're creating a higher basis every time you do that. So just be mindful, don't just do it to do it. Like make sure it really makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we have a lot to think about, in the next couple months of what is going to happen. I definitely think rates are coming down here soon. Before the end of the year.
Yeah, I think they got to be really careful on how they lower rates. The Fed chair Powell said, I guess it was last week, that it's going to happen. It's going to happen in September. He didn't say that, but like he said it, like it was very much implied. Some people are saying it's going to be 0.25%. Some say it's 0.5%. But
yeah, I've heard you can't go too fast, too much, because then it's, making people worry. They have to be thoughtful, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, so this happened. So he's been very mindful of Jimmy Carter inflation. He's talked about this since the very beginning, and that he doesn't want to have a double dip like we saw. So because they thought they cured it back then, the rates subsided, they came back down, they lowered them, and then boom, it went from 8% to 17%, and everything was just out of control. And so they're really mindful of not having that. They're okay causing short-term pain for the long-term gain of not having that, because that is catastrophic across the board. So I think they're going to be very careful in that. They will move them in September because there's an election in November, and the economy, the market needs a little bit of movement. Where they go from there is yet to be seen. So,
well, I'm eager for it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of my buyers too.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. And it got a lot of interest in the last week. It piqued a lot of people to go, research buying a house or refinancing or whatever it is, and created a lot of, conversations for everybody. Hopefully some more traffic in your listings as well. We saw several contracts this week. And so I think it's got people back interested again. You did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And, hopefully many more as people get more interested back in the market. Like you said, it's still a seller's market, but I think there's opportunity for buyers too.
There should be. I think buyers right now, if they find something that they love, I think there's, I found one that was 2 days on the market and it had so much interest, but we still got it for under asking. And I think that there's this assumption from buyers that, hey, if it hasn't been on the market for a month, I can't get it under the asking price. But that's not true. I think sellers are they're wanting to negotiate. They're wanting to make deals right now. So
yeah, I mean, usually the first offer is the best one, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, bird in the hand. You don't want to overlook that when you have it. So
yep.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you joining me today. It was a lot of fun. I think we could talk for hours.
We could be here all day.
Yeah. But lots going on in your world. I appreciate you taking an hour out to speak with us today, and
of course, I always learn something from you. So thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, and appreciate you all tuning in and joining us on our second episode of Brooks on the Money, and we'll see you in a few weeks.